All right. I think we're live. I was just panic finishing something and I did it and I'm really proud of myself and it's good to see you guys again. How is it going? Hi Jenny, good to see you. It is the last week of February because next week we get into March and we talk about the lunar eclipse in Virgo, which is something we can talk about this week. We can also talk about the Mercury retrograde coming, which it is. It's not my favorite thing, but I am wearing my shirt in advance just because it's happening, and it's one of those things. It's like, yeah, Mercury retrogrades happen. Sometimes they happen with Mercury in the absolute worst condition Mercury could possibly be in. But hey, maybe we'll be creative, right? I'm thinking we will be. Okay, I've got my charts all set up. 1253, 1253. Cool. So I figure if you want today, we can go through some of the eclipse stuff for next week just to get a good head start on that. And we can also talk about Mercury's retrograde. Mars is going to square Uranus later this week. So plenty of things to talk about. Good morning. I did have a wonderful vacation. Actually, I'm I'm not much of a beach person. And that's probably a bummer. I just Hawaii was nice. I like Hawaii. I wish I could have seen Hawaii rather than resorts on Hawaii. And when I did try to go and see Hawaii, it was not very accessible to like stuff. Um, and the stargazing thing that I had scheduled got canceled because it was windy. So the windy day kind of ruined the possibility of stargazing, but we did get to go on a boat ride and we were surrounded by whales and it was gorgeous. So stuff did happen and it was good. Hey, Shauna, good to see you all. I'm so happy you guys are here. So yeah, it's great. I'm still a bit tired. I apologize if I'm a bit laggy today because of it, but it's good. I did get so much writing done. Um, Hi, Russ. Yeah, whales were cool. They were breaching and doing all sorts of stuff. There were babies. It was great. Um, I did get a lot of writing done. I wrote about 4,000 words a day while I was there, which was good. I have made so much progress, and I'm really excited about that because I have a pseudo deadline in my head, according to my astrology, that I want to have everything ready to submit to my agent queries by. And so on track, feeling very on track for that and very happy with how the book is going. Um, yeah, and I found out which day I get to speak at UAC. So that's been nice too. Lots of good things. So many words. Yeah. We were there for 8 days. So I guess that would be 4 times 8 is 32, right? Somewhere around 32,000 words were written in Hawaii, um, which is, it's good. It's good to get that much progress made. Yeah, how was your week, you guys? Because last Tuesday, the day I was boating, was the eclipse. Some stuff has happened around that time, and I would love to hear your opinion. You know, when we talked about the eclipse, we had the question of around the time of the eclipse, do the events feel more Marsy or martial, or do they feel more Saturnian? And based on what you've read in the headlines or what you've experienced over the last week, I would love to get your your take on, do you feel it like it's been Marsy or Saturnian? Now, fair enough, right? To Into the Ravenwoods, it's been rough. Yeah, well, both of those are the malefics. So it was not going to be sugar and cotton candy. But that being said, I do have some higher hopes for this lunar eclipse for more reasons just than its transit. Um, I'm pretty interested in it because even though it's a Virgo eclipse with the moon, the predominating planet in the chart for that moment seems to be Venus. And when we talk about world astrology, Venus represents, typically in traditional astrology, right, would be women. But in more modern astrology, we take this to be women and people of non-conforming genders and sexualities. Um, it's one of the planets I would look to for that. And I know a lot of astrologers do. So that's going to be interesting to see that as a predominating factor owning and controlling the effects of this lunar eclipse. Now, when I did the math of this, and I'm happy to show a chart, let me know in the comments if you'd like to see the chart for the eclipse, and we can talk about it a little bit more in depth. Would be happy to. When I looked at it, it does look like the effects of this are going to start, the official eclipse effects are going to start next year, and I'll show you why in a bit. However, there are some other things going on around that same time. I'm going to pull up a document here so I can reference it if needed. That would give us some things happening now as well. So, very busy next week, not only in transits and with eclipses, but in the metaphorical timing of the United States, which is using its primary directions, perfections, and perfections within the context of the triplicity shift that had its mean shift in 2000 and the most recent shift in 2020. So what a time to be here, for sure. I have my notes pulled up and I am just about prepared to refer to them so I can make sure I give you the best data possible as I talk about this. We are still, by the way, in the 2025 Aries ingress because our Aries ingress for this year has not happened yet. That will be on March 20. And I am looking forward to not being in this year anymore. But next year and the year after have got some interesting things for us to keep an eye on as well. Okay, there we go. All right. It's always nice to have all of your data in front of you. Okay. You went down the Sekhmet rabbit hole this morning. Whoa. Honestly, bringing back energy from Egypt and giving some hope. Yeah. Sekhmet's quite the rabbit hole to go down. I hope you're doing all right. That's very, she can be pretty Plutonian and eclipsy as well in the way that she functions. Usually for your best though, like she'll smack you around until you realize that you deserve to feel powerful or enough or whatever. And if you just don't get it, she will keep smacking you until you do. So it can be a journey. Can you go into the Mercury retrograde that's happening this week? What will be affected by the eclipse energy at all? Will that be affected by the eclipse energy? I don't think so. I'm going to keep Mercury retrograde and the eclipse kind of separate. So let's put it this way. Mercury's going retrograde on the 25th this week, if I recall. The 26th. Mercury goes retrograde on the 26th, which is Thursday. The eclipse is on March 3rd. So Mercury will already be on its way backwards at that time. Now, Mercury is the ruler of the sign of the eclipse. So it has meaning there, which is, I think, probably where you were going with this into the Ravenwood, and good call. And so do you mind if I pull up the chart, you guys? Because I feel like this will be easier to connect stuff to if I show you the chart. So I think I'm going to do that. Yeah, Jenny, I'm with you. I want to like go somewhere and feel like I've been there, not feel like I've been shown what they want me to see. It felt very like dimension, like external dimension-y, very much like, just look at the pretty stuff. I was literally in Lahaina. And I think that's what bothered me the most, because I'm in Lahaina and I know just over this golf course hill, there is a community that has been devastated, and you're showing me only the pretty things, and I want to see how they're doing and I want to go help them. And there were no rental cars that you could get because they all had to be imported from the bigger island, which made it $7,000 to rent a car for the week, which I did not do. And then even Ubers and things were very expensive. Everything was very expensive. So if I couldn't walk there, I really didn't go. And that created more of a separation issue. Okay, so we are ready for the chart. Let's do this. I'm going to share my screen. I want to share Luna. There we go. Okay, so we have Luna here, which is showing us the eclipse for Washington, D.C. As you can see, this Virgo lunar eclipse, which is the last Virgo lunar eclipse in the cycle of eclipses between Pisces and Virgo, because you can see these nodes are moving backwards. They're going to shift later this year into the axis of Aquarius and Leo, which is why we had our first Aquarius solar eclipse a couple weeks ago. So that transition is already changing. We are in that liminal space between eclipse axes. And so we have our moon in Virgo. It is a full moon. As you can see, the moon being exactly opposite the sun. And that means that the full moon being very close to the nodes creates an eclipse situation. It is a lunar eclipse because it is a full moon and the earth gets in the way of the sun shining on the moon. So we get a blood red moon because of the earth's atmosphere distorting that light. So there's your astronomy to go along with our eclipse. This is happening on March 3rd at 6:37 a.m. Eastern time, but it's quite a long eclipse. It actually lasts almost 3 hours from beginning to end. Um, and over Washington, D.C., it lasts about 3 hours from beginning to end. If you go on timeanddate.com, you can look that up the way I do. So if we take that amount of time as our metric for how long this eclipse lasts, we're going to use Ptolemy's technique because I've been having a lot of fun with it. And I've been finding it to be pretty accurate and I want to keep studying it. So here we go. Ptolemy will say that for every hour the eclipse lasts, for a lunar eclipse, it will be a month of time that eclipse will have effect. Now, nearly 3 hours of a lunar eclipse, it comes out to like 2 months and like 3.5 weeks or something. It's very close. It's like 5/6 of a year, or of a month, Um, so mostly like we'll just cut it down to about 3 months or round it out to about 3 months worth of time that we'll see the effects unfold for. So we have this eclipse promising 3 months of something that will happen, right? That's what we're getting here. And so if we ask ourselves, great, the eclipse says something will happen and that something will occur over a period of 3 months. When? This is why I love astrology, because we've had thousands of years of astrologers who were neurotic people that could not just settle with, okay, that's what I see. They had to say, okay, but give me more details. Okay, but what then? Okay, but what does that mean? And so I love that we have the why minds that went into what we've gotten out of astrology. So Ptolemy again, who was the foundational resource for amazing minds like Abu Mashar Masha'Allah in the Islamic Persian era, Ptolemy would say you want to figure out where in the portion of the sky above the horizon. Now we know above the horizon is whatever is above that AC DC angle. So the ascendant and exactly opposite the ascendant would be the DC. This is your horizon. So the horizon is here. Everything that is up in the sky that you can see right now is above it in the chart. Anything below it is set. It is beneath the horizon. So in this case, we can see the sun is about to rise because it's approaching the ascendant. Now, technically in astrology, the ascendant is approaching the sun because the earth is the one that's spinning. But on the chart, it looks like the sun is going to move up, right? So we'll just go with it. And also, in case you needed to know, Jack is being very adorable today. So the sun is about to rise. It will move. The ascendant, which is moving faster, will move beneath the sun, but the sun will rise. And so we know this is right before sunrise on the 3rd. And the moon, being exactly opposite the sun, is about to set. However, it's still visible. So we will get to see this eclipse if you're looking around sunset time, at least in the East Coast. So you'll be able to see it probably even earlier in the day if you are further West Coast because time change. So Mercury will have gone retrograde already, as we can see here. And Mercury is the ruler of Virgo. However, I think I was getting into timing, but I wanted to just touch really quickly on the Mercury retrograde thing. However, Mercury is detriment, fall, and retrograde. If we're to say who is the best person equipped to drive this car, we're not going to take the drunk poet, right? So Mercury actually kind of gets disqualified as being the victor, as Ptolemy would put it, of the eclipse. Now, Victor could be who's ruler of the chart, which would actually be Jupiter. Victor could be who's ruler of the sign of the eclipse, which would be Mercury. But then you get who has the most support in the chart altogether. If you do that by multiple steps, trust me when I say that it comes out to be kind of a tie between Mercury, Jupiter, and Venus, but Venus pulls ahead. And the reason being, she is near the ascendant. She is in her exaltation. She is within, I think, the degree of her exaltation because it's 27 Pisces as the degree of her exaltation. So that's anything after 26.0 and before 27.0 because it is the 27th degree. So she's in that exaltation degree here and she's direct. I think she's doing pretty well. She also, I think, has the bound rulership of the moon, if I remember correctly.